Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. On today's show, we're going to talk about the Vikings-Giants game, but not just the Vikings-Giants game. What did they do in the Bears game? Because there's some things I saw in this Bears game. And yes, we know Kirk Cousins only played a half. We know a lot of the starters didn't play and rested. But there are some things that happened in this game that I caught Kevin O'Connell doing here and then that I'm like, you know what? This can work for the Giants game, because the Giants game was missing some pieces. And maybe some people thought they were holding back for the playoffs. Well, it's the playoffs. No reason to hold back now. But we'll talk about that next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey everyone, it's the Ron Johnson Show, and I'm your host, Ron Johnson. We are going to talk about the Vikings. It's playoff time. There's no more Packers. There's no more Lions. And there's no more Bears. Like Jasmine Sullivan said, I'm not scared of Packers and Lions and Bears. Well, that's not the song, but you know how the song goes. And as I bring Sam Ekstrom in, before I do that, I want you guys to remember, please download Locked On Sports Minnesota's app on Amazon Fire and Roku. Just go to your TV, go to your search apps, add apps, just search Locked On Sports Minnesota. Click it, download it. It'll be right in your screen. You get all of our videos, all of our shows, and all of the updated. You can go back and watch some old shows. You can see Adam Thielen. You can see Cam Bynum. You can see Robert Griffith. You can see Robert Smith even, and he has some good stuff to say about Kirk Cousins. So you want to go back and check those out. But as I bring Sam Ekstrom into the show, my producer, and here's where we go with this game. It was ugly. It was boring. There was not a lot going on. Early on, this is what I saw. So here are kind of my three takeaways that I think could transfer to that game. Justin Jefferson catches a screen to start the game. I don't understand why you don't do that every game. Like, Justin Jefferson can catch a screen behind the line of scrimmage every game, or coming down the line, or some type of receiver quick route every single time. One, that gives Justin Jefferson an early catch. So now you're not playing that, oh, it's the second quarter and Justin Jefferson still doesn't have a catch or a target. Or, it's the third quarter, Justin Jefferson just got his first catch. Get him a catch early. Get him a catch early. Get him going, see where he's at. Because if he makes a catch and makes a guy miss, now he's immediate gasoline on the fire. He's immediate starter for the guy. Like, he's an auto start for that team. The auto start, hit the button from the garage and your car starts. So nice. That's where Justin Jefferson is. You hit that button, you throw him a quick hit, the car started now. The team is going, because he might who knows? He makes a guy miss. He's sneaky. He can keep going. He's hard to tackle. And so that's one thing I think they got to start the game with, something like that, where Justin Jefferson's getting going early. 2, KJ Osborne, 6 targets, 5 catches, 117 yards. You got to be able to replicate that. If Justin Jefferson, the fact that Justin Jefferson, and again, it was the Bears, so we know they're not playing to win. They actually were hoping to lose. I was surprised at all the fumbles. Their owner's probably like, why are you fumbling the ball, Dalvin Cook? We don't want it. Keep it. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And so
Nick Mullins, don't throw us the ball.
No, and even for the corner, I talked about that. I talked about disguising coverage for Josh Metellus and Duke Shelley. At that moment when that corner, I think it was Stroman, when he disguised that he was going to play that flat and drop back to rob the underneath corner. Even then, I know their owner's like, dude, just go to CJ Ham in the flat. Let him throw the corner out. Don't pick him off. What are you doing? And so when you think about that, though, KJ Osborne is a viable weapon. They have to find ways to get him going as well. The minute it feels like they're going to, because the Giants watch that Packers film, and they're watching it today. They're watching it tomorrow. They already knew they were the 6th seed. They probably knew that the 49ers were going to, the minute the 49ers won or start kicking their butt, I'm pretty sure that those coaches just threw on that Packers film. Like, hey, let's watch this Packers game. What did the Packers do to Justin Jefferson that we can utilize? Well, playing press man with somebody over the top. So 2-man or some type of quarters with a press guy on one side. So quarter, half, where half the field is playing cover 2. The other half is playing quarters where you got 2 deep guys. But that half side is Justin Jefferson's side. You press him, and you have a guy come up. So you can play like 2 man on one side and 4 on the other. They're looking at all that stuff because they're like, how do we slow Justin? Well, if they do, KJ Osborne's there. My next one is CJ Ham's usage, 4 catches, 47 yards. You got to find ways to use him more, especially with the fact that if you're going to go with Oliudo at tackle, CJ Ham is a great option to help him block on that side and pass protection. If you want to get Dalvin Cook out in routes, let CJ Ham be the additional blocker instead of a tight end. I think he's a better blocker. He's stronger. And then even when he makes catches in the flat, like he's not being tackled by the first guy. He's not even wiggling. He's just running like a battering ram. And then time of possession for me, that was another one. And again, we're talking about the Bears and they weren't trying to win and they weren't playing well, but 36-23 time of possession. And in that time of possession, the defense held the Bears to 141 passing yards and Ryan Wright punted 1 time. So things like that for me are what the Vikings can transfer over. 1, third downs, being very efficient, getting to third and short, third manageable. When you talk about time of possession for the defense, just play. Don't get, and again, we're talking about 2 quarterbacks who, any other circumstance, they're not on a roster probably, but just play your position. Those guys were in perfect position. They were doing the things they needed to do. And so that for me seemed like that's a winning formula against the Giants. And then once you get that lead, this was the first time I saw where it didn't feel like, and again, second half quarterback for the Bears was terrible, but this is the first time I felt like it was not going to happen. Like they were not going to have one of those meltdowns. And even if they did, I don't think the Vikings care because like it doesn't matter if we lose this game, we're still going to be the 3 seed playing against the 6. But it didn't even happen there. The defense stood up. You saw guys like Asezi Atamewu. You saw Patrick Jones. You saw DJ Wanham. You saw those guys playing hard. The one question mark I have from the game, the Kevin O'Connell needs to figure out, one, timeouts he used at the end of the half, like the way he uses timeouts and Kirk Cousins dumping off the ball and then having to rush out and get a field goal, 12 men on the field, 2 footballs on the field. It was just absolute chaos. That's one. The second one is, why was Chandon Sullivan in the game so much longer than everybody else? Like, I get it. If you don't have a nickel, who cares? You don't have to play nickel against the Bears. They're not throwing the ball. Like, just put 3 safeties in the game, put 4 linebackers in the game, do whatever you need to do. But Chandon Sullivan is your starting nickel, and now he might not be able to play against the Giants. And that's what really is going to be a determining factor. Like if he can't go against the Giants, and we know Kenny Golladay hasn't done anything all year, did have a decent game though against the Eagles, or one. I just saw the 1 catch, but hasn't played much all year. He's back, so that now adds to the fuel. Like the Giants now have a big weapon that, I mean, him and jump balls and him in the Lions days, he killed the Vikings. And so now you get Kenny Golladay back. You're going to need Chandon Sullivan because the Giants were picking the Vikings apart and started to come back. And that's how they ended up, having a win with a 61-yard field goal. So that was the other one for me that was kind of like, why is Chandon Sullivan in here? And then what's going on with these timeouts and the way the time clock was used in the half? But I don't know. What did you see from that game, Sam, that you think can go over to the Giants game or has to be thrown away?
Yeah, well, it sounds like, first of all, KOC is pretty optimistic about Sullivan playing. He sounded that way in his postgame, so fingers crossed on that. And then maybe Bradbury and Brandel come back. That would be huge as well. But from yesterday, how about Duke Shelley? I mean, what a season for him. I know you're not a PFF believer, Ron, but according to PFF, maybe you believe this one. They say he's a top 20 corner in the league. And I believe it because he looks the part. I mean, the completion percentage against him is like 50% on the year. Came up with his first interception yesterday against his former team. That was pretty cool. Got a game ball afterward. Duke Shelley has passed Cameron Dantzler. So he's going to be the guy in the playoffs, and he's got to continue to be the guy. I think that's a gigantic key to this pass defense right now.
Yeah, Duke Shelley did play well. He also had some media type of fire. Like he was under fire by Brisker for the Bears, number 9. He wasn't happy that after the interception. And I guess I didn't see it. I just saw the interception. I didn't keep watching, or maybe the TV copy didn't show it. But he ran to midfield and spiked the ball in the middle of the logo like Terrell Owens. And Brisker wasn't too happy with that. But this is where I get it. Duke Shelley even tweeted to him, say, hey, man, my bad. But you don't know what it felt like for the Bears to cut me and feel like I didn't belong in this league. And now he's getting a chance, and he got an interception against the team that didn't believe in him. So I get it. There was some added emotion there. There's probably some added like, okay, I'm here, I made it. You guys didn't believe me, and I'm gonna go show you. Hey, it's an emotional game. You're a gladiator. You have a heart, but you're expected to turn it off. Sometimes you just can't turn it off. And as long as the emotion is positive and the emotion isn't hurting your team, and the emotion doesn't take away from the victory, like emotion when I say fighting, pushing a medical staff member and getting kicked out of a game, that's the kind of stuff where your emotions can hurt the team. Those are dumb emotions. Which is the second time that's happened to Quay Walker, by the way. He pushed somebody for the Buffalo Bills as well, which clearly he has anger management. And then he's a big baby when you watch him walk down the tunnel and kind of, throw his helmet against his knee and kind of pout like, I don't know why I got sent to my room. It's like a kid that your mom's warned you 3 or 4 times. You need to chill out. And then you just don't. And then they finally see your room. You're like, what? Why did I go to my room? What did I do? Like, you've been doing it and we finally called you on it. Go to your room. Let's go. You're done. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. And so Quay Walker, one probably was going to the locker room hoping like, please win this game so it's not my last game. Well, it didn't work out for you there either. Karma is a mother. It was his last game, and that's what everybody's going to remember him from the offseason. That you dead ball had no reason to do it, and you decided to push a trainer. Why? Because he tapped you a little bit so he can get to the player because you're standing over him. Because people are like, oh, those guys are all teammates, and they know each other. He knows Swift. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like, you're just standing there. You're not bent over like trying to see what's wrong. You're just standing in the way. So let the trainer who maybe can help in this situation get in there. And once he kind of moves you back, just move out the way. You don't know if that was a ref. You just saw a black jacket and you pushed him. What is wrong with you? It happened the way we wanted it to happen. Now, it didn't happen completely the way I wanted it to happen. I wanted Seattle to lose, and I wanted the Lions to get into the playoffs. A lot of people said if Dan Campbell actually had a shot to be in the playoffs, maybe they play a little bit tighter. Maybe they don't do some of the things they did on 4th down. Maybe some of the play calls they don't do. And I have to believe maybe because he's playing with house money. At that point, you lose. Who cares? You lose. The season was over anyway. You win and you send the Packers home because his little speech to the media, they asked him, hey, what's going on? And he said, hey, we're just getting, we got to get it going. We're not in a rhythm yet, blah, blah. And she asked, I guess it's her job. Bold question was, your guys came out knowing that you were eliminated from the playoffs. And he was like, yeah, we're eliminated from the playoffs, but we don't want these guys to go either. I loved that by Dan Campbell. I love the fact that he was aware of the moment. He knew his players knew they were out. And their message was, if we're going to go, you're going with us. Like, if we're going to go sit on couches for the next month or two and watch the playoffs, you're going to come sit on the couch with us. And so he stood by his word. His team got into a rhythm. The Packers started to get tight, and the Lions made plays when it mattered most. There were some controversial plays on both sides. Even the one that really threw me off was the free play, and Christian Watson ends up making like a big catch, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a neutral zone infraction, or maybe he didn't get, no. It ended up being 4th and 1, but it was a neutral zone infraction, like 4th and 6, neutral zone infraction. But the offensive tackle jumped offside or a false start as well because he was trying to start and then point like, hey, I jumped because of him. The refs let the play go. Now, neutral zone infraction, you can let the play go. But once an offensive player moves, you blow the whistle and then you just call what you call, whether it's like offensive person impeded by the defensive person, and that's why he jumped. Like, you don't just let the play go because the tackle jumped offsides. Like, little things like that leads me to truly believe those referees, and we're human. We're caught up in the Aaron Rodgers moment. Like, they wanted this. They had a feeling this is Aaron Rodgers' last game, and Aaron Rodgers, made comments, and we'll talk about that later in the Daily 3. But I was confused by a lot of the calls because, he didn't have control of the ball. He stopped it in midair, the receiver. And then as he's coming down, he kind of shuffles and hits the ground. You have control when you stab it in the air. Now, the fact that you didn't complete the catch through the ground, I get it. But did the ground assist him in stabbing it there? No. It just jarred it loose as he came down. So they've got to relook at that rule. I get it. But Des Bryant tweeted it out. I guess nobody can make catches in Green Bay because we all know the big Dallas, Des Bryant catch. And that was a catch. He actually caught the ball, took a few steps, like 2 steps, dove, and then hit the ground. Ball comes out. They say it was never a catch. How? Like, he caught it, put it in one hand, took 2 steps, and dove. How's that not having control of the ball? But maybe I don't know what control is. Here's another one that threw me off. When you look at Quay Walker, he got ejected, but number 95, he bumped the trainer as well. Both of them should have been ejected. I think the Quay Walker was egregious, so you have to do that one. Whether it's an additional penalty on 95, I don't know if you could do 2 15-yard penalties. Maybe it's just one. But 95 needs to get fined as well. Like he definitely bumped and mugged the trainer as well, which made no sense. It's a guy out on the field trying to help one of the other players that got hurt. Like, what's going like? And that's why you see Matt LaFleur say, "Hey, be smart." So they made some dumb mistakes. But the best thing is we don't have to deal with the Packers anymore. We don't have to deal with people talking about the Packers. I'm not gonna lie. I said that. I did not want to see the Packers in the playoffs. They are the most they to me would have been the most dangerous team. Them or the Lions would have been one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs. When you think about going to play the 49ers, I think the Packers or the Lions could have beat them because they both play aggressive, hard defense. They both move the ball well and we're running the ball at a high clip. But anyway, it's not Packers fan line. We're moving on. I am excited to talk about this Giants game, though, because now it is a playoff game. I think the slogan is as one. I saw the commercial last night, as one. We're going to be doing shows all week leading up to the Friday game or Friday show at the Mall America. So I'm looking forward to the Vikings special game day shows all wild card week. We're calling it Wild Card Live. I don't know, but it's going to be fun. So I'm excited about that because we're going to talk Giants. We're going to talk about what happens if they win. Where do they have to travel to? Can there be some upsets? Like, can Seattle upset the 49ers to where we might get Tom Brady back in the building with Antoine Winfield Jr.? Like, we might get it. We might get Tom Brady back in the building. Or do the Dallas Cowboys have to come back and the Vikings get their revenge against the Cowboys? We shall see. But I know the Giants, when you look at all the possible matchups, the Giants is a favorable matchup for the Vikings. So we'll kind of talk about that. Like, where does this tale of the tape lie? Is it, does the Giants have the edge X, Y, and Z, or do the Vikings have the edge? Because a lot of people are debating. And I'm excited. We'll talk about the line because BetOnline already has the line, and we'll see as how it moves because as more injury reports come out, I think Wednesday we'll get the first one. We'll get to kind of see. It's a 3:30 kickoff. So, hey, people get to kind of relax, enjoy their morning, have some coffee, go to church, and then head down to the stadium to get in there when the doors open. I think 1:30, probably 1 o'clock. So have fun, enjoy church, and then let's get down to this Viking stadium to cheer them on because that's going to be the goal is noise. You got to be able to drown out the noise for Daniel Jones. But remember this, people. Check out our Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast on YouTube following every Twins, Vikings, Wild, or Wolves game. Our Locked On team hosts are broadcasting live with team insiders. Never miss a podcast by subscribing to Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. And we also have a word from our sponsors.
Let's get our first look at the line via betonline.net. That is your number one source for all the lines, all the trends, all the analysis, any league, any line. Vikings favored by 3 points against the Giants at home Sunday afternoon. Over under 47.5, money line minus 150 in favor of Minnesota. So they're basically giving them the 3 points for home field advantage against the Giants. That should be a lot of fun. And by the way, the 49ers favored by 10 against the Seahawks. That game is on Saturday, so the Vikings will know who they would play in the second round when they finish up that game on Sunday. Get all the lines for the NFL playoffs, for the college football championship, and plenty more at betonline.net. Find it on your mobile device. It's where the game starts.
Sam, as we jump into this next topic, it's playoff football. Playoff football is what you play for. So when the Vikings started the offseason, let's go back to that. Everybody was saying, tear it up, start over, maybe get rid of Kirk Cousins. Let's let Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell build it from the ground up. Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell looked at this roster and said, no, this is a team I think we can compete with. We just need some pieces here and there. Now, the pieces have not done much. I mean, Harrison Phillips has been a great contributor. Chandon Sullivan has been an awesome piece to the puzzle. Za'Darius Smith definitely has been a big piece of the puzzle, but not always healthy. But hopefully that, the week off he just got should help him out big time. But that was really it. Other than that, it's been the guys like Ed Ingram. He's been in there, but it hasn't been a make or break. Like, oh, I'm glad we got him. Like, it's like good to have him. But it's not one of those like standout things. Now, TJ Hawkinson was a late add, which definitely was a big piece. But for the most part, this is a competitive rebuild, as we all said they should do, because you have the pieces. You have Adam Thielen. You had KJ Osborne. You had Justin Jefferson. You had Kirk Cousins already. You had Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks, Danielle Hunter. Like, you already had the pieces. So if you have the pieces that a lot of teams don't, who's the worst team out there? You look at the Texans. They don't have any of the pieces that the Vikings, literally. There's not one person on the Texans right now that I could look at and be like, oh yeah, I can build around him. You literally can cut that entire team and just start over again. You probably could have the Georgia football team mixed with some Alabama players, mixed with some LSU players, and take some of the top college. Like, you could take the top college players from those Michigan, all those top teams, and I guarantee you probably have a better team than the Houston Texans if you let them get a full offseason of workouts together, training, learning the offense. I can pluck guys off all those teams and make a better roster than the Texans. So that's the problem with the Texans, and we'll talk about that as well in the Daily 3. But when you're looking at this team now, they're in the playoffs. This is what everybody's been waiting for. 13-4. I don't think anybody, I said 12-5, so even I underestimated them. 13-4, which I can't, I'm looking forward today to going back to a lot of those tweets when the Vikings first tweeted out the video and everybody was like, oh, Ron's dumb and blah, 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 and because the Vikings tweeted it out, and so they put my prediction out there and everybody called me a homer, and now look at us. Now look at my prediction. I'm looking forward to scrolling through Twitter today because I got a good 30, 40-minute break before we go live tonight at 6:30 p.m. for the Vikings live show. And, oh, yeah, I'm going to scour Twitter because I'm bringing it up on the show because nobody believed me. Everybody thought, oh, the Vikings are paying them to say that. They were, but I was right. So when you look at this team, though, it's playoff football. And Sam, with playoff football, this is what matters. When you look at the games, you got the Vikings. And I start here. The Packers being out changes kind of my perspective. I was looking forward to the Packers versus the 49ers, but I still didn't want it's like one of those things where you don't want the Packers in, but you want the Packers in. Like I'm indifferent about it, I guess. I want them in because I want them to knock off the 49ers because I think the Vikings have a better chance of beating the Packers at home than they do the 49ers on the road. So I wanted the Packers to knock them off, but then also the Packers are done. So we don't have to talk about the Packers anymore. We don't have to deal with their fans anymore. We don't have to deal with their people anymore. They are done. Only thing they're doing is sitting back waiting for the Vikings to lose so they can then come in and just bash us. Like, oh, they put you guys in the playoffs to do that. You guys went 13-4 to do that. Look at your DVOA now. Look at your EPA. Look at your MOUSC. I don't know. Whatever the letters are that they want us to bring up with the Vikings and analytics, we're going to hear about it if the Vikings lose. But who cares? But when you look at this, Sam, I look at the schedule and the way it was set. Right now, which they did it Monday night, and this is the question to you. Monday night is the best, closest game, I think, in their minds. When you look at Tom Brady won, he's going to get TV people to watch, and you got Dak Prescott and the Cowboys because they're America's team, and all the big networks love to talk about the Cowboys and Dak. But that was Monday night. So that could be a potential Vikings are playing the winner of the Monday night game because maybe the Seahawks pull a rabbit out of their hat and find a way to beat the 49ers and Geno Smith just goes off. But Vikings, Giants, that's who the opponent is. What are your thoughts on this game immediately or early?
I like it. I like the matchup for Minnesota. I think that people are pretty caught up in, well, the Vikings needed a 61-yard field goal to beat them last time. You were up 24-16 in that game at the very end. That's a pretty comfortable margin. Now, you allowed the Giants to drive the field at the end and tie the game. Then you came down and won. The Giants' offense had very little explosiveness to it. They can run the ball well. They can amass a few first downs. They can kind of move it between the 20s. They're not really a good finishing offense. So I wanted this matchup. And I'm embracing it. I think the Giants defense is gettable. I think Justin Jefferson can get yards on this group. And I don't think this is a team that's really going to punish you defensively. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think the Vikings, they're favored by 3, which is probably correct, but I think they could definitely cover in this game.
There's been times where the Vikings you feel like should have had the game under control. This was one of those where it should have been. The Jets as well. You can go all the way to these games, but here's where I take this one. The Giants, and the Bears, I saw this stat, and I'm like, man, this could have been the Vikings. In one-score games this year, And that's why I love to talk to Peter Bukowski about this. One-score games this year, the Bears, I don't know if you saw the stat, they were 1-7.
Horrible.
They were 1-7 in one-score games. So if you flip that and they're 7-1, they still don't make the play. Well, no, that would have been 10 games.
They'd have 10.
They make the playoffs. 10 games probably gets them in because, yes, it does, because the Packers and the Lions and the Seahawks all were at 8 wins. They were 8-8. So if the Bears flip that and they go 7-1 in one-score games versus 1-7, they're in the playoffs. So that's the big difference in finding ways to win these one-score games where the Vikings were 11-0. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a big catch from Justin Jefferson or a fumble by Josh Allen. You could say what you want to say, but they won those games. Whereas if they were, let's just say they were 1-10, nobody would be talking. They would be 4-14, 4-13. Like a 4-13 team, we would be questioning, should Kevin O'Connell be the coach? Like we would literally be sitting up here looking like Lovie Smith. Should Kevin O'Connell be the coach? They went 4-13. Every game they were in, they just couldn't. Because think about all the moments. Could have been a field goal miss. Could have been Josh Allen's fumble actually didn't fumble and he gets out the end zone and then they run the clock out. Justin Jefferson's fourth down just falls to the turf. Great attempt, but it touches the ground. There's so much into this that I don't understand why people are so upset and guys like Peter Bukowski. But when you look at the Giants-Vikings game, here's the things that have to happen in this game. It has to be convincing. But this is the other key to this, and I said this. Their defense. So now half the teams are gone. There's 14 teams left. Their defense just has to be 7th or 8th out of the 14 teams. Because now it starts from 0 again. The stats are 0. It doesn't matter what you did during the season. It's not carrying over. Start over again, 0. Finish 7th or 8th defensively, and I think you're fine. Because you just have to be better than the team you're playing, which means you're going to be better than half of the teams that enter the playoffs. If you can finish the playoffs with the 7th or 8th ranked defense in that, because the offense is going to be top 4. The offense is top 4 out of 32 teams. So with the playoff teams, they're going to be top 4. Kirk Cousins is going to play well. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the fourth quarter. You look at the last 8 years. 8 years. 66% completions. Almost 67% completions. Who's better? Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. 34,000 yards. 34,000 yards. Who's better? Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. 233 touchdowns. Who's better? Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So Kirk Cousins, the last 8 years, has been a top 3 quarterback. Now, here's where Kirk Cousins has to fix this in the playoffs, and this is where the big moment Kirk, primetime Kirk, everybody talks about. And I think Kevin O'Connell's helping with this. 86 interceptions. That's the 6th most interceptions in that span. That's a lot. 275 sacks, not his fault. That's the 8th most. So meaning he's getting hit, he's getting pressured, but he hasn't missed games. He's been sacked the 6th most times in the last 8 years. 275 times. Can you imagine getting hit 275 times by somebody over 300 pounds, maybe multiple guys at 270 to 300 pounds and still walking away and playing? Like Kirk Cousins, that's not his fault. He's getting sacked the 8th most. That's not the interceptions. Yeah, probably some are his fault, but we know there's been some interceptions that are not his fault where guys run the wrong routes, guys are in the right position, tip balls. So, I mean, I'm not going to go back and watch every Kirk Cousins interception and figure out which ones are his fault, which ones are not. But this is where I go with this. Kirk Cousins is going to be fine. He has a coach now that this is what he needed, I think, to get into the playoffs and get his mind right. So I think Kirk Cousins for the Giants now with Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell can't leave anything on the table. Put TJ Hockenson out wide. Like, that's another thing I want to see in this game. I want to see some TJ Hockenson one-on-one in the red zone. Just throw a jump ball. He's 6'5", and he has a 38-inch vertical. At the combine,
he killed the Giants last time.
Go up. We know he can go up and get the ball. But now, don't get tricky. Just put him out there. If they double him, they're telling you they're treating him like Gronk or they're treating him like Calvin Johnson. Now, your 3-receiver side is manned up. But they can't man up Justin Jefferson's side. So that's why I say pick your poison. Go TJ Hockenson over here by himself because I like him one-on-one in the red zone more than I like Justin Jefferson one-on-one. And the reason is just because I can just throw it up. And it's a jump ball because he's 6'5", and there's not going to be a 6'5" or 6'5" corner or linebacker or safety covering him. Justin Jefferson, on the other hand, in space, yeah, nobody can cover him. But red zone, it's compacted, so the DB has a lot of the sideline in the back of the end zone to help himself out. But now you go 3 receivers to that left side. If they man it up, now get tricky over there. See what happens. If not, I'm going man up. I'm going to throw a jump ball, and TJ Hawkins is gonna head top somebody. It's time to moss him. But what do you want to see from the Giants game before we jump into the Daily 3?
Yeah, I think that KJ Osborne is your number 2 guy. I mean, you mentioned TJ, and it might be TJ. I think KJ is probably your number 2 receiver behind Justin Jefferson. Love Thielen. Still think he's a red zone guy. Like yesterday, KJ gets him down the field, and Adam Thielen finishes it off. I think that's the formula. I just think that KJ has more explosiveness in his legs to get deep, to get separation, and I think the targets reflect that. Last 4 games, he's got 33 targets, 25 catches, 350 yards. I think that we're seeing the baton being passed before our eyes, and I think they need to carry that into the playoffs. I think KJ Osborne needs to be your number 2.
I agree. I have said that. I said he deserved, at least I thought let Thielen get healthy these last 2 games. I thought KJ Osborne should have just been the number 2 receiver in the targeting situation, in the play calling, how you start the game. If you're going to start 2 wides, 2 tights, because now Irv Smith is back. That's the thing. We even talked about Irv. We'll talk about him more this week because for sure Friday's roundtable, we're going to have to talk about Irv because I'm interested to see, because he was the number 1 tight end coming into the season. He was the number 1 guy coming to training camp. He was the guy that we thought that Kevin O'Connell can turn into a absolute weapon. I think we're forgetting how good Irv can be. I think some of the routes that he was being asked to run weren't his cup of tea, and he wasn't figuring out the leverage and even, everybody when it comes to leverage and then what's your choice route. Everybody's been kind of, we've seen Jalen Reagor run the wrong route. We've seen Justin Jefferson run the wrong route. We've seen Adam Thielen this weekend. Looks like he ran the wrong route when Kirk Cousins threw the out in the back of the end zone and Adam ran like a back in. So it's definitely some mental verbiage to that. I think Irv Smith was thinking too much. He wasn't moving. When you don't think, you move fast. When you're thinking, you kind of you count your steps because you're thinking like, okay, is he out? Is he in? Is he out? Is he in? Oh, he's in. I'm gonna go out, and then I should have went in. Like I feel like that's where Irv was at, and that's why he wasn't getting the separation we thought he should get. But hey, he's back. He's healthy. He looked quick. He has TJ Hawkinson now, so he's not gonna get like when you're on the field with TJ Hawkinson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and Justin Jefferson. You're the 5th option, which means you're getting 5th option coverage. So he's going to get a lot of linebackers now. He's going to get a lot of dime. The dime cornerback is probably going to cover him every once in a while. You're going to get the linebacker that doesn't normally cover because one linebacker is going to take TJ Hawkinson, that's probably their better cover corner guy, and you're going to get the other guy. So, or you're not going to get covered. They're just going to leave you open in the middle of the zone. So it'll be interesting to see what Kevin O'Connell kind of comes up with, how he gets Kirk Cousins thinking this week because he's got a big task at hand. You can't lose a home game to the Giants. You can't.
Nope.
You can't lose a home game to the Giants because I know if that happens, now the Eagles are like, thank you. We get the Giants again and we just beat them with our nobodies. We are going to kill the Giants. Like the Eagles will be like, thank you, Vikings. We are so happy you gave us the Giants for lunch today because that's going to be a blow. I mean, now the NFC East would love that because now you got their 2 guys. You got the Giants market. You got the Philly market. But no, it's got to be the Vikings, Eagles left in this. I want to see them travel to Philly for the NFC Championship game. But hey, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We got the Daily 3 coming up next. But remember, when you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota, you're getting endless Vikings talk with local experts. Subscribe to the free Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed wherever you find your podcast and find our videos on Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. We have another word from our sponsors.
Yes, we do. Built Bar is a delicious treat. If you haven't tried it, what are you waiting for? If you don't want all the fat and calories, you got to try Built Bar. You probably got some for the holidays. You're trying to get in better shape here with the New Year's resolutions. Built Bar helps you with that because they are healthy and they are tasty. The 2 of them can intersect. Seriously, they're so delicious. You won't think they're good for you, but it's true. 100% real chocolate. Great macros, like 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein to nourish you. Unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. You can find them not only at Built.com, but at Walmart and Sam's Club as well. Go to Walmart, get the 4-bar box. Go to Sam's Club, find the 13-bar box, and load up on Built Bars. Built Bar, phenomenal nutrition, tasting good at the same time. Built Bar, built.com.
Whoa. It's time for the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Sam's going to try to throw some out there and see what we got. Take it away, Sam.
Let's get back into the Aaron Rodgers talk. There were some signs yesterday after the game that this might be it for Aaron Rodgers. He wouldn't take the jersey off his back when Jameson Williams asked him for it. He was looking around Lambeau Field, taking it all in. He was embracing Randall Cobb, walking down the tunnel. Seemed like the end of something, whether it's the end altogether or the end in Green Bay. Has Aaron Rodgers played his last game for the Packers, Ron?
I think so. I truly believe it. Some people are saying retirement. I don't know if he retires because I'm guessing his contract is like player option and team option where he can opt out and they can opt out because it was a lot of guaranteed money. When you have a lot of money like Aaron Rodgers already, he's got the State Farm deal. Like, because some people are like, dude, I'm not walking away from whatever left on the $60-70 million. I'm not walking away from it. If I got a limp on the field, I'm a limp and get me 70 million. But at the same time, mental health is huge. The money does not cure it all. If he is not feeling comfortable or having fun anymore, don't do it. That's how a lot of players end up in a bad place. And so, yeah, I could see Aaron Rodgers being completely done. Like, I can see it. I can see him moving on and trying to get, whether it's traded or forcing his way out or mutually agreed upon trade because Jordan Love, I mean, it's about time you drafted him. Let's see what he has. But there's a lot of draft picks. There's a lot of teams out there that the Packers, I think, could screw Aaron Rodgers, but they could trade him to a team that's not. I don't know if he has a trade clause in his contract where it's like, you can't trade me to the Texans for the second pick overall. But who knows? Who knows where he could go? I could see, the Raiders trying to get, because David Carr's done. So I can see the Raiders trying to make that trade to get him, to put him back with Devontae Adams out in that division, because that division with the Chargers, hey, they can compete and get in the playoffs from out there. Go to the AFC, get away from the NFC. But I can see that happening. Not sure. I think the Broncos are stuck with Russell Wilson, so you can't end up a Bronco with Peyton out there. But yeah, no, I do feel like that was the end. Just the, no, I think I got to keep this one. And it could have been a gut reaction from him, just like, I don't know if I'm done or not. But if this is it, I at least want to have the last Packer jersey I ever played in. So maybe, but yeah, and I'm guessing he'll reach out to Jameson Williams with a different jersey. Like, hey man, I know you want to trade with me. I'll send you a different jersey if you want to send me yours, but I got to keep the actual game worn last game Aaron Rodgers ever played in. And who knows, he might pull a Tom Brady and retire and come back. Like we seen Tom Brady do that, where Aaron Rodgers tells everybody he's walking away, and then we get the facts of I'm back, and he's coming back to be a Packer because Christian Watson has played well. Like he's not like he's walking away from a terrible team. So I can see him retiring, just trying to get away for the offseason and then pulling a Tom Brady. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's the Packers or nothing, because I think they structured that contract so that there's still a bunch of guaranteed money on it. It's a 4-year deal. So if he does retire, he still is owned by the Packers. Like if he comes back, they would have to trade him to get rid of him. Maybe they want to do that. I think teams would be a little more cautious to give up the farm for an aging quarterback after seeing what happened with Russell Wilson and some of these big contracts that haven't worked out.
True.
But I think Rodgers, as contentious as things have seemed the past couple of years, I think he wants to retire a Packer. As much as he's turning into Brett Favre, I don't think he wants to be Brett Favre in that he kind of turns his back on the fan base and has to go through all of that criticism. I think that the legacy part matters to him, and I think that he wants to either go out a Packer or just go out. I mean, I don't think he's going to fool around with other teams. Could be wrong. Maybe the Packers turn their back and he gets mad at them, kind of Favrean. But that's where I stand. I think it's the Packers or nothing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of teams. He could literally follow Brett Favre's steps and go to the Jets, because the Jets need a quarterback as well.
Yeah.
They have Sauce Gardner. They have a really good defense. They have some offensive weapons. They're going to have a decent draft pick again. So, hey.
And then the Vikings after that, right?
And then the Vikings.
Jets and then Vikings.
Yep.
You brought it up earlier. Lovie Smith, fired from the Texans after
Mhm.
1 year, a year where they gave him nothing. They were clearly tanking. They brought him in to oversee this tank job and then fired him. Maybe they fired him because they accidentally won the game yesterday on a Hail Mary on 4th and 20 at the end, and then a 2-point conversion. Crazy way to lose the first round pick. But what are the Texans in the wrong here for basically having a lame duck coach in a tanking season?
Yes. The fact that they fired him, they're wrong. But the other time, I think Lovey knew though. It's you don't take a job like that with nothing, because I think he said at the beginning of the year, like, I don't know what I can do with this roster, something like that. Like I got to figure out what to do with this roster. I can't remember what he said, or maybe somebody else said it for him. But yeah, that roster was not built to win. They know they're starting over. They wanted that first pick. At the end of the day, though, you got CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Now, the Bears 9 times out of 10 are not going to pick a quarterback, I think. I feel like they think they have enough in Justin Fields. They can trade for DeAndre Hopkins and add another receiver to that with Chase Claypool. You got Juju Smith-Schuster, so they can get Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chase Claypool. And, I mean, you got Claypool and Juju, who's the Steelers, did well with them. What's his name? Mike Tomlin, 16 seasons, never had a losing season. So, clearly Juju still has it. He looked well with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you put all 3 there. You get Juju, Clay, Chase, Claypool, and you get DeAndre Hopkins. You got Justin Fields, and then you trade that pick to the Texans so they can get whatever quarterback they want. Or the Texans just know, like, look, I know they're not taking a quarterback, so we can still get our guy. Either way, I don't feel like it mattered. Lovey lost or won that game. He was going to get fired regardless. I think it's funny, though, the fact that he went for 2, knowing that not only was he going to help the team that fired him before, which is the Bears, and he's going to screw over the team that's about to fire him. He lit 2 matches, because now the Bears I think the Bears' decision probably would have been made for themselves if they didn't have the first pick. Like, oh, let's just go get Will Anderson Jr. We got rid of Khalil Mack, so let's add a rusher, and then we'll go out and get some receivers. Now they got to make a decision. Like, okay, so do we get a quarterback? I mean, we can get any quarterback we want. Is Justin Fields our guy? Like, he lit 2 matches and said, you figure it out. And so that's why I love that move by Lovie Smith. Like, screw you. You're going to fire me? All right, here you go. I'm giving this pick to the Bears. But yeah, it was funny to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love when a team brings someone in just to kind of keep the seat warm.
Right.
I don't think that's very good business. The Texans continue to find ways to seem like an undesirable franchise. Even after getting rid of Deshaun Watson, they still kind of have that stench on them. I don't think if they think they're going to go get Sean Payton, I don't think Sean Payton wants to oversee a rebuild. Like, I don't think they're going to get a big name coach. I think they're going to have to kind of bring in someone young, and that's, again, not going to have a great team next year. Maybe a rookie quarterback, though, they can get excited about.
There's a lot of good coaches out there too, though. So who knows? I mean, DeMeco Ryans, you got Steve Sarkisian with Texas. I mean, he didn't have a great bowl game attitude, but I mean, I know he's been an NFL coach. So there's some coaches out there. Jim Harbaugh, who knows where he's going to end up. But yeah, no, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to move to the next question.
Okay.
I got one non-football topic for the day.
Yep.
The Timberwolves are at the halfway point, Ron. They are 20-21 through 41 games, halfway through the season. So with that in mind, what is their final record going to be?
I honestly don't know. Like this, I seriously just don't know. And this is why. So when you look at who they lose to and how they lose, like I went to the Pistons game, like I said, and the way they lost that game, not losing the game, because you're going to lose games, but the way they lost the game. So what I want to see from them, and this is if they learned, they like all the games I thought they were going to lose, they came back and won. Like they beat the Nuggets, they beat the Trailblazers, they beat the Clippers, and they came back and beat the Rockets. Like I'm sitting there like, what's going on? So the Pistons are the next game Wednesday. I want to see how they deal with the Pistons this time, because last time they had a big lead on the Pistons and they literally let it go, almost like Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. But the difference is Kevin O'Connell knows how to come back and win games. Once the Pistons got hot, the Timberwolves couldn't figure out how to slow it down. Like I thought Anthony Edwards was on the bench too long. I felt like, and I've said this time and time again, he's the guy. Like he's got to be the guy to get it going. So when you look at the Pistons, the Suns, the Cavs, and the Jazz, so you got 4 more now, all within the next, the 11th, 13th, 14th, and 16th. So they got some quick turnarounds. That'll be interesting to see what they do. Like it'll be interesting to see how they do. And so I can't say now because they never put together enough. But like, give me those 4 games. Give me 4 more. If they can win 3 out of the next 4, I truly believe they can finish above 500, and they have a slim chance of getting, that whatever 7th seed or not 7th seed, sorry, 9th seed, and getting the play-in game. But it's all up to the rest of the West too, though, because it doesn't feel like some of these teams I feel like now are going to start to, and that's why the NBA is trying to change that tanking rule, that if you're out, we're going to tank for Victor. Like, he is a unicorn at 7'5", 7'4", whatever he is. He keeps changing his height every day. I think he's really like 7'2", probably, and then the shoes. But, when you look at a 7'2" guy that can handle the ball like that, shoot threes, he's a unicorn. Now, Chet Holmgren couldn't hold up to the banging of a true NBA, group of guys. And so Victor's just as skinny. Can he hold up to that same banging? That's going to be the key for me. But when you look at the Timberwolves, I really don't know. I mean, right now, if I had to guess, I'm going to say they're going to finish 500. That just seems what they feel like. They beat the teams they shouldn't beat, and then they lose teams they shouldn't lose to. Like, they're doing it in reverse. It should always be beat every team you're supposed to beat and split with the good teams, and you have a formula for, say, Glenn Mason would always say that to us. The Timberwolves aren't doing that right now, but again, maybe they will figure this out with Anthony Edwards. Maybe karl-Anthony Towns a little break. Maybe he'll come back energized, and maybe that'll be the boost they need. But I don't know. What do you think about the Timberwolves?
I think they're playing better, which is great to see, 4 in a row. But the West is also there to pull away in. I'm not saying they're going to win the West, but look at, Sacramento is the 5 seed right now, and they're 1.5 games above the Timberwolves. If the Timberwolves go on a little run, they could easily jump up to a 5 or a 6 seed and even avoid the play-in round. I think, right now it's a logjam. Golden State and Phoenix are 2 teams that could also take off in the second half of the year. But I think the Wolves could leave the Clippers, the Kings, the Blazers in the dust and at least get comfortably out of that play-in. So I think the West is actually, shaping up well for some team, maybe the Timberwolves, to kind of get hot and to separate themselves. So that's what I'm hopeful for.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But it's playoff week, people. I'm excited. Vikings, Giants, going to be a 3:30 kickoff on Sunday. Make sure you stick around because we got some good content coming all week. I got Peerless Price, former Tennessee Volunteer, former Peyton Manning teammate. So he's got some good stories. And then we're going to get Garrett Bush. He went viral for his comments about the NFL and the NFLPA and how they handle player injuries. As we know with DeMar Hamlin, we'll talk about his contract tomorrow and what the Buffalo Bills decided to do with that contract. But is that not happening enough? Should be a good week, people. Stay tuned for more content coming from the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. And remember, if you want endless Vikings talk, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel, where you can find all of our videos, instant podcasts after every game, and the Vikings press conference delivering all the biggest news. Like our videos and leave your comments in the section below. I want to thank you and have a great day.